and E2Z. Today we can give you a little bit of an overview of field day and how to have fun and make contacts. So what is field day? It's just a widely sponsored amateur radio exercise. It encourages emergency communications preparedness among radio amateurs. American Radio Relay League runs it as a contest, work at as many stations as possible in designated bands, and how to operate in less than ideal conditions. And finally, for the Orange County Amateur Radio Club, it's an annual club activity, a social gathering for our camaraderie, friendship, all of us getting together, sharing ideas, some techniques, some travel knowledge on amateur radio. For this year, for Field Day 2020, the social gathering is going to have to be done with some adequate social distancing. Hopefully we're going to be able to make some success out of it and a lot of fun with it. So the objective, again, contact as many stations as possible in all amateur bands that were covered. So 80, 40, 20, 15, 10, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, or bands you could be operating on. The ones that you can't operate on are, for the contest at least, is 60, 30, 17, and 12 point contacts don't count in those bands. Also, it's the opportunity to develop your skills, meet challenges of emergency preparedness. Typically, if you communications handling, message handling, just acquainting yourself with your equipment in general, or even equipment you set up in less than ideal conditions. It's always the fourth weekend in June. For this year, it's June 27th to 28th. And it starts at 2 in the afternoon Eastern time and goes 24 hours till Sunday, 2 in the afternoon Sunday. So get used to doing time conversions for annotation, just so you're familiar with it. Participation, well, all amateurs in the US and Canada participate. Of course, you can make contacts overseas DX stations, but the contest doesn't really include them for count them for points. Scoring, you get a point for every voice contact you make, 2 points for every contact that's not voice, so which typically CW or the various digital modes that are out there, and you get total points for all the contacts or QSOs made from that. You also get multipliers. So typically, if you're operating at a power level of 150, you get 2x for the total QSO points. Bonus points. For bonus points, you can get 100 points for if you're operating totally on emergency power, battery, generator, what have you, anything that's not commercial power. You get 100 points for a satellite contact. We're only allowed to make one satellite contact, so this way everyone gets a chance to operate satellite. Media publicity, that includes your social media, so you can get 100 points if you go ahead and do a tweet, Instagram, whatever, on your operating. And then you get 100 points for sending a radiogram, a message to your section manager. You can go ahead and look up online about the National Traffic Network for ARRL and how you can go ahead and send a message to your section manager. And handling messages, hey, if you handle a message, you get 10 points for each message that you handle with a maximum of 100. Also, if you copy the special field day bulletin, you get 100 points. So W1AW will announce the schedule for that just before field day. And they send the bulletin typically in CW as well as digital modes. So it gives you a chance to work up on your digital modes, get FL Digi running, at least knowing there's a particular time and contact to have fun with on that one. Entry categories. Typically, it's in the exchanges a category of letters. So it could be B for 1 or 2 people operating portable, C if you're operating your vehicle, D, which is really typically if you're operating from home, and you're easy to your commercial power, it's Class D. Class C is the same thing except for except for the radios if you have them running on emergency power. So ARRL sections, there's 71 sections in total, and there's basically each section for each state and Canadian province. There's some states that have more than one section. So New York would be 4 sections. You have ENY, Eastern New York, NNY, Northern New York, WNY, Western New York, and NLI, which is New York City and Long Island. In New Jersey, you have NNJ for Northern New Jersey and SNJ for South New Jersey. So for club members, when you're operating, you'll probably hear these sections most often in your operations. As far as within probably an 1840, you'll hear these a lot. And then, remember that for most of the club members, if you're in Orange County, you're operating as Eastern New York. So the contact exchange, in order to make a contact, you have to exchange information that starts off with a number, which is a number of simultaneous transmitters. So if you're operating from home, it's just you, probably just, one, the number one. Class of operation, which is the letters I've mentioned previously. And the ARRL section, which I mentioned Eastern New York for anyone in Orange County. So again, if I'm operating from my easy chair at home, usual commercial power, I'm 1D, 1 Delta, Eastern New York. If I'm still operating from the easy chair, but I decide to run the generator outside and run the radios off that, I can operate as 1E, 1 Echo, Eastern New York. If I'm camped in the yard with the radios, getting eaten by bugs and dealing with wherever the random weather is, I'm still 1E, Eastern New York. Sort of makes me want to think, let me just run the generator and sit inside in air conditioning. If you're cruising the hood or parked, you're 1C, 1 Charlie, Eastern New York. And exchange accuracy. You must copy the info that you receive, but you also got to make sure that person gets the info on their end, or else it just doesn't count as a point. Get used to your phonetics, because if you're operating voice with all the band conditions, you might not be able to hear too clearly. So that's why people, instead of just saying their call, like for me, NE2Z, I'd be saying November Echo 2 Zulu. So know your phonetics. And just know over time, you'll hear people get lazy with the phonetics. I might say America instead of Alpha, or something a little bit more cheeky later in the night. Strategy. So I've been doing field day on and off since '81. I typically operate probably less than ideal for most folks. So I operate CW, low power QRP, 5 watts. And fortunate enough, most years it's been through a flagpole. So when you operate like that with everyone else pretty much running 100 watts, you have to have a bit of a strategy. I always say this is a little bit like poker. It's not really luck. It is a sport. It is a game. So the strategy I always lead with is hunt and pounce. What that is I'm roaming the bands up and down. I might be on 40 meters, go up and down it, looking for stations or calling CQ, and I answer them. If I hear stations getting a lot of responses, referred to as pileups, I'll go visit them a little bit later. I might try to operate them real quick, but if I really can't get after 2 tries, I move on, and I just know that there's 24 hours for me to get back to them. Another one is sitting on a frequency. Someone might sit on the frequency and just keep calling CQ, CQ, CQ. Eventually, somebody gets back to them, then a couple, then if you're lucky, you get into a bit of a pileup, assuming you can handle a pileup. Again, you'll never know who can answer, and of course, once you start getting more and more contacts, your QSO rate goes pretty high and more points. But again, you may have to handle a pileup. I look at to me, it's this is something you get into after you've gotten really comfortable of being able to log and talk at the same time, as it were. But that's why I typically lead with hunt and pounce. So hunt and pounce, what that is I hear someone out there calling CQ field day. They might be going CQ field day from Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey, Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey, W1AW. And they might say it a little bit shorter if they've been on frequency for a while and already been making contacts. And then, people are responding, W1AW, this is NE2Z, but more than often, you'll just hear people shoot their call sign out there after, they've heard the CQ. So I'll just go NE2Z or just say November Echo 2 Zulu. And then if I'm lucky, they heard me and they'll say, hey, November Echo 2 Zulu, this is W1AW, please copy 7 Alpha Connecticut, 7 Alpha Connecticut, QSL. He's making sure, hey, did I hear it right? And I'm going to respond, QSL, please copy 1 Delta Eastern New York, 1 Delta Eastern New York. And after that, if they heard it successfully, they'll say QSL, 73 is good luck maybe in the contest. And then they'll say QRZ, Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey. QRZ meaning, who's next? Sitting. So sitting, you might want to be sitting there and we keep going, calling for CQ. CQ field day, CQ field day, CQ field day from November Echo 2 Zulu, November Echo 2 Zulu, NE2Z. Maybe I might say it a little bit slower if the band conditions are pretty bad. And I probably have to, I'll pause for about 5-7 seconds, depending how busy the band is already, and call again and again until someone comes back to me. And then I'll probably hear someone come back with a call, W1AW, Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey. Then I go back to them and say, hey, Whiskey 1 Alpha Whiskey, this is NE2Z. Please copy 1 Delta Eastern New York, 1 Delta Eastern New York, QSL. And hopefully they've heard me and they'll say, QSL, please copy 7 Alpha Connecticut, 7 Alpha Connecticut. And I'll go back, QSL, good luck, 73, QRZ. that's pretty much it. As simple as that as far as exchanging contacts. Again, know your phonetics. Write it down in front of you if you need to remember for you're doing 1 Delta Eastern New York, or just remember how you respond. Voice, it moves pretty quickly. For digital modes, it's a little bit easier. You sit and scan the bands for a bit, what have you. But again, I go back to my technique, which is I like to do the hunting and pouncing. When I'm hunting and pouncing, I'm actually listening first. So I might hear a station is operating a pileup, and I'll actually go ahead and if I hear them, I'll write down what their exchange is, if they're 3 Alpha Eastern Massachusetts. So this way, when I'm ready to contact them, for me, my only challenge is making sure that they heard me, they got my info, and then they come back to me with their info, which I already have written down, or maybe I've already got it typed into my logging software. I just didn't hit enter yet. And once I've done that, great, I can move on to the next contact. So, use the ears to the mouth, or use the ears to the hands in proportion. And again, you'll make it for a more enjoyable field day. Right now, next, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some live sounds from Field Day 2017, thanks to a shortwave listener out there. And I found a couple of them that actually had some really good examples of operations on field days. So let's go ahead and listen to them next.
CQ Field Day, Whiskey 1 Alpha Charlie Tango. CQ Field Day, Whiskey 1 Alpha Charlie Tango. Kilo Yankee 4, Kilo Yankee, please copy 2 Alpha, Echo Mike Alpha. 2 Alpha, Echo Mike Alpha. What number, Fox? 2 Fox, Kentucky, copy that, thank you, 73. QRZ, Whiskey 1 Alpha Charlie Tango. Was that Kilo 4 Charlie Oscar? Kilo 4 Charlie Oscar, do you copy 2 Alpha Eastern Mass? Okay, what is your exchange, Kilo 4? What is your exchange? Kilo 4 Charlie Oscar, I need your exchange. Kilo 4 Charlie Oscar, I can't pull you out, try again. Okay, what's the class? Okay, got you out, sorry about that. 3 Alpha Kentucky, thank you for sticking with me, 73. QRZ, Whiskey 1 Alpha Charlie Tango.
Got it. You're 1 Echo, Tennessee. A4BP, field day. Whiskey 1 Alpha Mike, Japan. 1 Echo, Tennessee.
Roger, 1 Delta, Tango.
Thanks, A4BP.
Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo.
The November 9 first, please.
Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo.
November 9 Echo, give me the rest of it. Got it, November 9 Tango, 1 Echo, Tennessee.
Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo. Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo.
1 Echo, Tennessee. USL 3 Alpha Eastern Mass, thanks, K4BP.
Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo.
1 Fox Charlie, 1 Echo, Tennessee.
Field Day, Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo.
Number 1.
Keep Papa Mike, 3 Echo, Virginia. CSL, thank you. Good luck. This is Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo, field day. Thank you, field day. Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo. W1AMG, excuse me, 3 Echo, Virginia. Copy and thank you. Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo. Thank you, field day. Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo. Thank you, field day. Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo. Thank you, field day. Whiskey 4, Charlie Bravo.